Alright. Now, you can see this is your fall semester exam. Alright. Guys, I really don't think it's going to be that difficult. Try to find the first question. Alright. If we look at number 1, it says, for 4 days, students measured and recorded the change of the water depth in a pond. They measured the following changes in depth. Alright, now they give us 4 different measurements. Now, you may remember that when we talked about problems like this, when you're putting rational numbers in order from least to greatest or greatest to least, whichever one, you need to change them all into percentages. Alright, now a lot of people have been saying decimal. Alright, but sometimes decimal have different numbers of decimal places and you guys get confused. So the best way to keep you guys from getting confused is to change them into percentages. Alright, so if we're changing these into percentages and you have negative 0.3, what is negative 0.3 as a percentage?
Negative 30%.
Alright, we move it twice and you get negative 30%. Alright. Now, 1/4 inches you should already know is 25%. That should be one that's right off the top of your head. 0.1 is 1%. And 1/5 is 20%. If you didn't know that, you could just say 1 divided by 5, which is 0.2. 0.2 is then 20%. Alright, so now, if I'm going to put these in order from greatest to least, which one of these is the greatest?
30%.
Now, if you said 30,
You're wrong.
don't forget about that negative.
Oh, 25.
Alright, so, whoa, I don't know what I just did. Yeah. I don't know if I can take any of that back. Oh, okay. Well, it's messed up now. All right. So, whoops. All right. So 25% is our greatest right here. Now that was Tuesday. All right. 20% would be the next. That was Thursday. So you put a TH for Thursday. Wednesday was 1%, and then the negative 30%
Monday.
would be the smallest, and that is a Monday. I don't know why it's all jacked up, so when you're watching this video, I'm sorry it's jacked up. Alright. Everybody understand number 1 before we move on?
Yeah.
Changing percentages, put them in order. Do not forget this negative. Don't forget it. Alright, that'll mess you up. Alright, now, if we look at number 2, it says, Miss Nevin is playing a costume, or is making a costume for a school play. She needs a piece of fabric that is greater than 1/2 yard, but less than 5/8 of a yard. Which length of fabric below could she use? Now, these are the answer choices they give us. 3/8, 4/7, 3/7, and 2/4. Alright. Now, we've got to figure out which of these comes between 1/2 and 5/8. Well, again, I want you to change everything to percent. So instead of 1/2, what are we going to put for our percentage? 50%. So between 50% and then we need to change 5/8 into a percent. To do that, 5 goes on the inside, 8 goes on the outside. 8 goes into 50 6 times. Into 20 twice. And into 40 5 times. That's 0.625, which is 62.5%. Alright. So, now we're going to change all of these into percentages and see if they come in between those two numbers. So, 3/8 is first. 3 goes on the inside, 8 on the outside. I'm only going to solve to 2 decimal places because that's all I really need on this particular problem. That might be something you want to write down. Only solve to 2 decimal places. Alright, 8 goes into 30 3 times. Goes into 60 7 times. I'm going to stop there. That's 37%. Does that come in between 50 and 62.5? No, it's too small, so this one doesn't work. Alright. Next we have 4 over 7. Alright, 4 goes on the inside, 7 on the outside. Alright, 7 goes into 40, 5 times, and into 50, 7 times. I'm going to stop there. That becomes 57%. Does that come in between? Yes, so I'm going to leave that as a check mark. 3/7. 7 goes into 30 4 times and into 20 twice. That's 42%. That's too small. Now 2 over 4, what is that as a percentage? 50%. Does that come in between 50% and 62.5?
It's not the correct answer.
It does not come in between. It's equal to 50%, but it does not come, it needs, if you look at the question, it needs to be greater than 50%. Alright, so that one won't work. 4/7 is our answer. Alright, come back up here to 3. It says, which value is between 1/2 and 3/4? What is 1/2 as a percent? What is 3/4 as a percent? 75%. Alright, so we need to come in between these two. Alright, 7/8. 7 on the inside, 8 on the outside. 8 goes into 70 8 times. 8 goes into 60 7 times. I'm going to go ahead and stop there because that's 87%. And that is too large. That's way over 75%. 40% is already done for us. It's too small. 2/3. What is 2/3 as a percentage? 66.6%. You should have that one memorized. Does that come in between the two? Yes, it does. So we'll put a check mark. Finally, 5 over 6. 5 on the inside, 6 on the outside. 6 goes into 50 8 times. And then into 23 times. We'll stop there. That's 83%, which is too large. So 2/3 is our answer. Okay, on this last one, we are making a proportion. It says Erica buys 1/4 pounds of chocolate covered raisins at a candy store for $1.78. What would be the cost in dollars of 3/4 pounds of chocolate covered raisins at the same store? So we're making a proportion. Now what two things are we going to be comparing here? Pounds of chocolate raisins and then the price. So I'm going to put pounds over price. Now on the original pair that we had, what was the original pound? 1/4. So I'm going to put that on top. And how much did it cost? $1.78. Now that's going to be equal to, what's the poundage on the new? 3/4. And then we don't know the price. So, how do you get from 1/4 to 3/4? Times 3. So down here, we're going to times by 3. 178 times 3. That's 23. $5.34 is your answer. Alright. This is what you need to study right there, how to set it up. Alright. On number 5. Number 5 says, use a calculator to help you place the following values from greatest to least. We are not going to use a calculator because here at Hale Center we're just too smart for calculators. So, what we need to do is change all of these into percentages. Alright, well 95% is already done. Now, 3 squared, what does 3 squared equal to?
6. 9.
9. 9 as a percentage is 900%. Do not put 9%. Do not put 90%. It is 900%. 3 is 300%. Now, 2 3/5. All right, we need to change 3/5 into a decimal first. So 3 goes on the inside, 5 on the outside. That becomes 0.6. So we have 2.6, which is what as a percentage? 260%. Now we can put them in order from greatest to least. What's my greatest here? 900%. What was the original number then? 3 squared was first. Then we had 300%, which was just a 3. Then we had 2 3/5. And then 95% was last. Alright, so this is our answer. You will be surprised at how many of you will put 95% as the largest. Alright. Number 6 should look very familiar. We just had this question. It wants a side view of that bench. Well, I don't think anybody missed that on the test. That's why I put it on here. There's a gimme right there. Any questions on that one? Number 7, this is another gimme. Nobody missed this on the test either. They want to know which one of these can be represented by this top view right here. This is the top view. Well, the top view looks like an H. Out of these 3 figures, which one has an H in the top view?
The first one.
This is it. This is the only one that makes any sense. All right. So good enough for me. Number 8. I put number 8 on here because more people missed this question on the test than any other question this year. Which is a shame because it is not that difficult. First thing you've got to do is plot the original triangle. More than half of you didn't even do this part, which hurts you right off the bat. Alright, point P right here is 2, 4. That's over 2, up 4. Right there. Point Q is over 8, up 8. That's right here. There's your Q. And then R was over 8, up 4. Now, I'm done. That's not hard at all. Next thing it wants us to do is the dilation. It says to use a scale factor of 0.25, which means I'm going to multiply each one of these numbers by 0.25. Now, what is the same thing as multiplying by 0.25? Dividing by 4. It's the same thing. It's just like multiplying by 0.5 is the same as dividing by 2. Alright? It's the same thing. Alright? So we're going to divide everything by 4. So if I have my point P, which was 2 and 4, what's 2 divided by 4? And 4 divided by 4? 1. Now, it's important that when you plot this, you only go over a half. So many people put their point right here. Right there at the 1. That's not where you're supposed to put it. It's supposed to go right here. Go over half and up 1. There's your new P. Your new Q. It was 8 and 8. Divide both of those by 4. 2 and 2. Over 2. Up 2. There it is. Finally, R was 8 and 4. Divide it by 4, and it is now 2 and 1. Over 2, up 1. There's that. I think that on the last test, I think some of y'all just tried to look at the answer, memorize it, and draw it without even trying to solve it. You cannot just memorize this answer. This is one of the questions that you have to know how to solve it. Alright? I put this one on here because I think it's too easy for so many of y'all to have missed it. So make sure you study this one because I'm not gonna take it easy on this one. Number 9. This was a very missed question and I'm not sure why. Alright. Well, actually I do know why. It says the graph shown below is the triangle DEF is a dilation of triangle ABC. Which triangle came first? ABC. This was the original. DEF is a dilation of ABC. ABC was first. So when we're solving a scale factor, we want to know what times 10 gave us 4. Or what times 7.5 gave us 3. A lot of y'all did the opposite. You looked to see what times 4 would give me 10. You know, you came this way. And that's backwards. We're trying to figure out the other way around. So you would say 10 times whatever our scale factor is will equal 4. Well, how do I figure out what that scale factor is? Divide 4 by 10. And you get 0.4. That's our answer. That was really heavily missed on the test last time, so make sure you know how to do that. Number 10. It says, which of these coordinate pairs represents points in the shaded part of the coordinate plane? Alright, this is one that you haven't seen before. I put it on here because it's so easy. Let's look at the first pair, or the first group. -4 and 3. Can I graph that? No, there's no negatives. Which means if there's no negatives, I can't graph this one. I can't graph this one. I can't graph this one. This is the only one I could graph every point. That's the only one that makes any sense. But let's go ahead and graph them. 3 and 1. That's in the shaded region. 1 and 0 is in the shaded region. 6 and 3 is in the shaded region. This is the only choice that makes sense. I put that on there because it should be a gimme. Number 11. The East Junior High School gym needs to be painted. The painters estimated that it would take about 20 hours for them to paint the entire gym. If they have already worked for 4 hours, what percent of the entire job have they completed? Now, we can't make a percentage off the top of our head. Alright? What we can make off the top of our head is a fraction. Alright? Out of the 20 hours it's going to take to solve, or out of the 20 hours it's going to take to paint, they've already done 4 hours. Now, what does that reduce to, Lance? What does that reduce to? 1/5. Right? And then 1/5 as a percentage is 20%. Done. That's our answer. Should be easy. Alright, number 12. Again, we're going to be setting up a proportion. Alright, we're looking at triangles ADE and ABC. Alright, we need to compare the base and the height. So if I'm looking at my smaller triangle on this picture, what is my base? 20. And what is my height?
You can't see the number at first.
60.
15. Now that's going to be equal to, if I'm looking at the big triangle, what is my base?
40.
Wrong. 60. So many people in the 8th grade missed this problem because they put 40. 40 is from here to here. You cannot forget about this portion here. The entire base is 60. You've got to know that. That's something you need to put a star by with fireworks and a golden sticker. You've got to remember it's 60. Your base is 60. Now, your height is what we're solving for. Once you get that point, it's easy. How do you get from 20 to 60? Times 3. What's 15 times 3? 45. We're done. It's an easy problem, but you've got to remember that that's a 60. Alright, number 13. A business reports that approximately 80% of its customers are women. How many customers did the business have if it had 72 women customers? Now, this is a problem y'all haven't had on a test before. You need to study how to set this up. What it's saying is 80% of however many people they have as customers, whatever that number is, 80% of it is going to be women. And how many women were there? So 80% of that number is 72. Now, how do we figure out what 80% of a number was?
72 over 8.
Hold on.
What 8 times 72?
We're going to change 80% to a decimal. And then we're going to multiply it by this number. We don't know what that is yet. But when we do, it's going to equal 72. 80% of their customers is 72. That's how you set this up. Now, how do I solve for that number?
0.8 divided by 72.
72 divided by 0.8. We'll move the decimal, and that is 90. So they have 90 customers. This is what you need to study. Okay, now, if we come up here to 14. It says a flagpole is 15 feet tall, casts a shadow 8 feet long. Mason is 5 feet tall. Write a proportion that can be used to determine the length of his shadow. Do we need to solve for the length of his shadow?
No.
No, it does not want you to. You can, but you're not going to get any bonus points and you're just going to waste your own time. This is a part where if you read, it's going to save you a little bit of time. Now, it wants us to make a proportion. In a proportion, we compare two things. In this case, we're comparing the height to the shadow. All right? Well, on the flagpole, what was my height?
15.
And what was my shadow?
8 feet.
On Mason, what's my height?
5 feet.
And what's my length?
X.
We don't know. That's our answer. You can stop there. I'm telling you right now, at least a third of you will continue trying to solve it. Which means you're going to waste your own time. Follow directions. If anything, studying this right here will remind you that you don't have to solve. That makes your life so much easier. All right, number 15 I put on here because I don't think anybody missed it last time. We could figure out how to get from X to Y, and we could figure out how to get from Y to X. But really, guys, what's N?
10.
10, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 14, 6, 9, 12, 15, 18, 21. All right? These are easy. I put that on there because there's no reason anybody should miss that. All right? All right. Number 16. A wooden box is shaped in a rectangular prism that's 48 inches long, 18 inches wide, 12 inches high. What is the closest volume to the box in cubic feet? Feet. Feet. Why did I underline feet?
You gotta change it into feet.
We have to change these inches to feet first. If we don't, you'll get it wrong. All right. So instead of 48 inches long, how many feet is that?
4.
Instead of 18 inches,
1.5.
instead of 12,
1.
what's 4 times 1.5? Anyone know?
6.
It's going to be 6. 6 times 1 is 6, so we've got 6 cubic feet.
That's easy.
Should be simple, you just got to remember to change it to feet first. Number 17. Number 17. She makes $6.50 per hour. She works between 20 and 25 hours. What's a reasonable amount that she could make? Well, how do I figure out the lowest amount of money she's going to make in a week?
650 times 20.
650 times 20. Because she makes $6.50 an hour. The least amount she's going to work is 20 hours. All right. That is $130. All right. $130 is the least that she's going to work. Well, that gets rid of this one right here because $100 is not enough. So, before we pick this one, we got to make sure that this amount works out. So, the most that she's going to make is by working 25 hours. So, let's work that out. That's 162.5, which means this is too much, this is too much. This is, in fact, our answer. Alright, everybody understand 17? I don't think it's too shabby. Shabby, hard, complicated. Alright. Scott, Kelly, and Ryan bought their parents an anniversary gift that cost $76.44. They want to split the price evenly. What am I going to do?
Divided by 44 divided by 2.
76.44 divided by what now?
2.
3.
3.
1, 2, and 3 of them. You get 25.48. Alright, number 19 says a toy box is 60 inches long, 24 inches wide, 36 inches high. What is the closest volume to the toy box? If we look at our answer choices, they're all in feet. So we've got to change these into feet first. Instead of 60 inches long, how many feet is that? Instead of 24 inches. Instead of 36 inches. What is 5 times 2?
10.
Times 3? 30 feet. Cubed. Easy enough. Alright, number 20. The Holiday Inn Express charges $69 per night for a single room, plus $7.50 per night for tax. If Kelly stayed in a single room for 4 nights, what would be the cost of her 4-night stay? Well, how do I figure out how much one night cost?
69 plus 750.
The price for the room plus the tax gives us $76.50
Times 4.
times 4 because she stayed 4 nights. That is $306. That's how much it would have cost. Alright. Number 21. Heather's cell phone company charges $29.50 per month for basic service. Alright, so she's paying $29.50 no matter what. The charge for text messages is 10 cents per message. What is Heather's total cost this month if she sends 50 text messages?
34.50.
So what do I got to do to figure out how much she's paying for the text messages?
Point.
Is that 50?
She sent 50.
50 messages at, you're going to add 50 to the 49.
Well, she paid 10 cents per.
You're going to multiply 50 times 10.
Yeah. So it's the 50 text messages. We got to times that by 10 because it's 10 cents per message. That gives us an even 5. So we'll add that back in, and you get $34.50. So $34.50. There we go. She should probably just get unlimited, but whatever. Number 22, probably the hardest problem on the test. Again, it's setting up a proportion. The recipe calls for 3/4 a cup of sugar, 2 cups of flour. He increases the recipe to 3 cups of flour. How much sugar should he use? Alright, so what are we comparing?
Cups of flour and cups of sugar.
Flour and sugar. Alright. So, how much flour is in the original recipe?
2 cups.
2 cups. And how much sugar?
3/4 of a cup.
3/4. Alright, now, how much flour is in the new recipe? 3. And we're solving for sugar. Now, how do you get from 2 to 3?
Times.
We'll divide 3 by 2,
Times 0.5.
and you get 1.5. So we're multiplying by 1.5. Multiplying by 1.5. Now, normally I would tell you to change that fraction to a decimal and multiply. But your answer choices on this one are all going to be in fractions. So let's go ahead and change the decimal to a fraction instead. So 1.5 as a fraction
1 and 2 over.
is 1.5. If we do around the world, what's 1 times 2?
30.
2 plus 1. So we got 3 halves. So now we just need to multiply 3 over 4 times 3 over 2. Well, 3 times 3? 4 times 2? It gives us 9 over 8. How many times will 8 go into 9? That leaves me what left over?
1/8.
There you go. And that is the entire test.